What's up, you guys? We're running live. I got another great episode lined up for you. We have another guest that's about to join us here in a second that's fighting on that Dana White's Contender Series Week 1 episode. We have Tom Pagulairulo. Okay, I'll bring him on in a second. And this is a fighter you're definitely going to want to get to know, man. He has a very exciting fighting style, high finish rate, a lot of KOs take place when he's in the cage. But now you're going to get to know him a little bit more on a personal note, and it'll make that Week 1 fight more exciting when you watch it, as you'll have a little bit of a better insight of who he is. So we'll bring him on in just 1 second. Just want to give a quick shout out to my partners over at Prize Picks. Don't forget, guys, use the code HMA. All right, you play your first $5 lineup. If you win it, you'll get $150 added to your account there. So don't pass that up. Use the code HMA. All right, guys, let's jump into this thing. The teller. What's up, Tom? How you doing there?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing great. I appreciate you taking the time to come on. And we were talking a little bit backstage, man, and you were letting me know how you recently made a move out to Colorado, right? And you're training with some beasts out there, huh?
Yes, sir. Me and my wife moved out here in March. I actually came out in January for a month, made sure we both liked it. We stayed in Airbnb, trained out here. I was over at Onyx, and while I was here during that month, Corey told me he was opening up his own gym, and they were hoping to have it open in March. So yeah, man, it all just fell into place. I came out for that month. We flew back, packed some stuff up. She had to stay home for a bit. I flew right back 2 weeks later. Just I wanted to be training. We had heard from the UFC. Sean Shelby had told my manager like keep him ready for short notice. So I wanted to make sure I was training and just out here getting the best work. So I flew right back out for pretty much all of February too. Flew back out to Mass for a week, and then we loaded up the cars and we drove out here. And yeah, I've been here since March full time, and training's been great. Like I said, training with Corey Sandhagen at his gym now. I actually teach there as well. I'm over at Onyx training with guys like Justin Gaethje, Archie Colgan, who's actually fighting this week for the PFL title. And yeah,
Mhm.
just a ton of other killers too, man. They got guys who no one even knows of yet who are gonna make some noise in the big show. So yeah, it's been a great adjustment and great transition.
That's awesome. Yeah, that seems like a solid move, man. I mean, that's that whole that area over there. I mean, I would look at it as one of the top training areas in the world at this point when you think about the names that are over there and what's going on over there. And training up at elevation, right? I mean, you're up at elevation, right? I mean, I'm sure that helps a lot as well.
Oh yeah, man.
So
I came out here and felt like I had never trained before. Training in that altitude. It's tough, man. I didn't think it would be as like effective as it is, but yeah, I'm starting to get adjusted. They say it can take like a year to like fully acclimate to it, especially the way we train and like what we do. You get over
mm,
like the going up a flight of stairs pretty quick. Like that takes about a week to get over. But training how we train and stuff, like man, I still feel it a little bit compared to back home, but I just know like it's pushing my cardio that much more, and fighting in Vegas is gonna be a nice release.
oh yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I've gone skiing a couple times out in Utah and Colorado, and I kind of remember that feeling a little bit. Just working your way up the mountain. I can imagine, getting in some hard training, but yeah, it's all for the better, man. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on here, I wanted to bring you on. The way we do the show is I really want to get to know you. Besides the fighting stuff, I want to dive into the fighting stuff for sure, and I want to talk about this upcoming matchup that you have, which is against a very tough opponent, right? A fighter that has already fought on Dana White's Contender Series, and Ananias Malumba, he had a crazy fight that first time around on the show. I want to talk about that bout, but I want to get to know you a little bit more. And I want to start. I always like to start with your childhood. You know what I mean? With the fighter's childhood. And I'm curious, are you somebody that's been training MMA from a young age? When did you fall into the sport of MMA? Did you have a wrestling background? How did things kick off for you?
Yeah, my parents got me into like karate when I want to say around like 4. And I did that. I got my black belt in American Kempo karate. So
Mm,
that was like, that's not like a jiu-jitsu black belt where it takes all that time. I think I did karate from like 4 till about like 12 or 13. And there was some like point sparring and stuff like that. Um,
mm,
so that was like my first like splash of martial arts. And then in the 4th grade, my dad was a wrestler in high school and stuff. And he got me into wrestling in the 4th grade for Haverhill Youth, and I did that right up until my freshman year of college. Um, but in that transition to college, I found MMA like my senior year of high school. Um, but honestly, right before I graduated, I had a friend who I grew up wrestling with, and he had an amateur fight coming up, and he needed some help with wrestling in the gym. He didn't have a lot of wrestlers, so he asked if I could come into the gym. So I did, and I sparred like my first week, and got a nice black eye. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew wrestling, and I'm very
Yeah.
obsessive, and I was just kind of like, man, I think maybe if I put some time into this, like I could get pretty good. Went off to college, was training up there at a gym up near the school. My wrestling coach in college was a pro fighter. He was decent at Ryan shooting. He was like 9-2 or 8-2 or something like that. Um, so he was bringing me to his gym. He was like, if you want to fight, like I'll bring you from practice to MMA. So he was driving me right from wrestling practice an hour to an MMA gym,
Mm.
and it just became a lot. Like I did my whole freshman year of wrestling, and I did good. And then sophomore year, I did it for like a semester, but I was like, I gotta pick one here. Like I was kind of burnt out with wrestling. I had done it for so long, and just went all in on MMA, and did all my amateur career in college, and then I turned pro like a year after graduating.
Wow, that's awesome there. I mean, to circle back a little bit, and of course, I mean, I don't know the answer, but a lot of times I would assume having someone, growing up at a young age and having being involved in mixed martial arts, whether it's the karate, whatever discipline it is. Of course, maybe it's better if you're in jujitsu from a young age or whatever,
Yeah,
however you look at that. But having any type of discipline that you're involved in is going to help a young kid stay out of trouble. It avoids you from doing things that you shouldn't do. But I still will ask the question, even with it seems you had a solid background and a solid foundation. Did you have any of those types of distractions when you were a young kid? What was it like for you growing up when you were in your teens? Were you still hanging around at the park, with some of the troublemakers and having a fighting background? I'm curious, any type of trouble you had growing up in high school, did the people kind of avoid messing with you, kind of knowing that you had a background
yeah.
like that?
Um, Not really. Like high school, I went. My parents sent me to a private high school, um,
Okay.
in Lawrence, Mass. But I'd say middle school was more like my trouble years. I got that all out of the system early. I wasn't like great like at. I guess middle school is when I started to get like decent at wrestling, but I was pretty small, dude. Like I'd say like seventh and eighth grade, I was wrestling at like 84 pounds or something like that. Like I was tiny. I'm
Wow.
6 feet now. I was like we did a little yearbook for middle school, and they do a little like accolades and thing. And if you scroll to the back of that yearbook, I'm under shortest. It's me and a couple other people. Like I was
Oh,
this
it's wild.
tiny little kid. Yeah, so I got into like most teenage kid things. I just didn't get caught like a lot of these kids do get in trouble. But no, I didn't
Yeah.
get in too many fights. I had like a few little scuffles and stuff, and kids would pick on me just because I was a little smaller and stuff. And I actually got to fight one of them in my first amateur fight. It was like a movie, like a kid
Oh, it's
who was
funny.
like the one we were all afraid of, and then he ended up getting into like boxing. He's actually fighting for the BKFC title in Boston. Harry Jigliotti. He's a good kid. We're all good now.
Okay.
But
Yeah. 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 Is he fighting
yeah,
this
yeah.
weekend? Is that
Yeah,
this weekend?
I think it's the end of August. It's at Fenway
Oh, yeah,
Park
okay.
in
That's
Boston.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
headlining
that's
that,
funny,
which
man.
is sweet, man. So it's kind of cool to see like two able kids just kind of find their way to a high level of combat sports. But yeah, I'd say no, no one did like. I don't think people like feared me as like this wrestler and martial artist, and I was also kind of like afraid of everything, to be honest. Like as a little kid, and honestly in middle school, like I was very like passive and pretty afraid of like altercation, which is why I think I got into some just to like prove to myself like
Mm.
to they face your fear kind of thing. Um, but I avoided like serious shit. I wasn't this kid who like MMA saved my life. Like I have a pretty good life. I got into fighting because I like competing, and I feel like it's the highest form of competition, and I just want to see how good I can get at that. But now my childhood was pretty good, man. I come from a good family, and my city had some rough spots, and I've definitely had friends get pulled in some directions, and I think the wrestling kind of kept me on track, and just like I've always been very like disciplined, even as a young kid when it comes to like making right decisions and like my athletics and stuff like that. It's pretty much all I really cared about growing up. I wasn't too big into school. I didn't like school. I did it, and I got better at it as I got to like high school and college, and I think that private school really whooped me into
Mm.
shape a little bit, in the academics. But no, nothing crazy for me as a young kid.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you were making intelligent decisions from a young age. I mean, that's awesome. Obviously, that translates into the sport as well, right?
Yeah.
Making smart moves. We talked about the smart move you recently made. I'm curious about this. When would you say, at what age was the time that you registered in your head that, okay, I want to fight in the UFC?
Um, yeah, I feel like I've had a few people ask me that like this past week, which is funny. I want to
Mm,
say around like 20, well, I made my pro debut at 20,
mm,
but I'd say the end of my amateur career. So like 21, 22. I started training with like Rob Font and Calvin Cater. Rob kind of took me under his wing as like a mentor and like really believed in me and got me good really fast. Like I no, I got myself pretty good, but he like convinced me to get pretty good. Like I didn't really have a lot of self-confidence, and I think he kind of like he always would tell me like I tricked you into believing how good you are, and I was kind of just this wrestler who would take people down and like just win fights that way, and I just started knocking everyone out. He put me in a boxing
mm,
gym, and I realized like I'm pretty good at striking, and once I saw like the how fastly I was like leveling up, and I was like, I think maybe I could do this thing for real. And then the pandemic happened in 2020, which is when I graduated college. So it's not like I could go get a job or anything. No one was, we didn't know what the world was going to look like. But Calvin
mhm,
and Rob were still fighting. Like they had the fight island fights and stuff. So I was training with them and our coach at the time, Tyson Chardier's driveway. And
mm.
we would just have like some gyms who would like secretly open their doors to us. And I was like, man, I might if I'm doing this full time, like let's try and make a run at this thing. And here we are.
Yeah, and now you are 29 years old, correct?
Yep, I just turned
Tw
29 in June. Yep,
29? So,
yeah,
and at an age like that, I mean, I kind of like that age. I think that age is it's you're at a great spot coming into an opportunity like
hmm
you have in front of you. I mean, you have what, 12 professional fights, I believe, 12 professional
yep.
fights. And I mean, what are your thoughts as far as you being 29 coming into this spot here? Do you feel like you're fully prepared for an opportunity like this coming into this spot here?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think like you see, it's funny, man. I've been looking at a lot of the fights they're releasing on the Contender series. Some of these guys have like 5 fights, like 6 fights, or they're like 5-2, 6-1. I'm like, huh. I remember
Mm,
being like at that point in my career, and you're kind of like naive. Um, on like your timelines and like how real this thing can get and how dangerous this thing can get. So yeah, I'm happy with the path I took, man. I feel like especially from New England, a lot of guys kind of rush their way into the UFC or to the Contender series, and like that was their first like time getting like a fight. You know what I mean? I've had some tough
yeah.
fights. I've taken short notice fights. I've fought some good guys. I've slowly like increase the level of competition. I got to fight with the PFL, so like used to fighting on that big
Mhm.
stage. That was my last fight before this, so I feel more than ready, man. Like I feel like at this point, even in the PFL fight, I was like, this is where I belong, and now I get to go fight at a stage that's about maybe bigger than that, or and just as big. I guess it's in the apex, but the platform itself is pretty big, man, and a huge opportunity. So I've also fought in front of Dana White before. He did his looking for a fight show in Boston
Yeah.
at the Encore. So I got in like a nice 3 round war in that one. And I always think I was 5-1 at the time. You know what I mean? So now here I am, 10-2, this much more experience, and I get to fight in front of him again. So it's something I'm used to, but excited for now.
And you were mentioning that fight where that you went to a decision, which
hmm
that was one of the rare times you went to a decision, man. Because you're a damn fight finisher, man. Your highlight reel
Yeah.
was a lot of fun to watch as well. You were talking a little bit earlier about your striking developing and all that. When I'm watching your tape, to me, without a doubt, you seem like someone that has that natural power. To me, I've seen you hurt guys with your hands, and you're not winding up or anything. I mean, you're just throwing nice, clean, straight shots, and you're dropping dudes, sitting them down. So you look like you have that real natural power.
Yeah. I think it's like one, my length and like the range I keep guys at. I'm pretty rangy for a 45, or I'm 6 feet tall. I got a 74-inch reach. Um, But yeah, I think there is some natural, like I'm not one of those guys who like loads up and throws big overhands, like you said. It's kind of like these straight punches. And I've always kind of had that since once I learned like how to strike. Rob would always tell me, he's like, man, you hit hard. I've worked with different boxing coaches across the country, and they always tell me like, man, you hit hard, you got some power. But now it's just like it's just using it at the right times, not trying to kill these guys. That's the one thing that I feel like like stops you from getting knockouts is when you're really looking for it, you're sitting on your punches. Those shots where you're not really, you're just trying to be fast, get to the target clean, engage that core, and just keep your shots straight and clean. And those are the ones where guys go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like you said, it's natural. It's my build. I'm kind of like I'm very like stiff when I'm not fighting. Like my body's always pretty like stiff and tight. And I was talking to my physical therapist about this yesterday because I work with one once a week, and she said your body feels like she works with all kinds of pro athletes, track stars, NFL guys. She's like you have the same feel as like a professional track athlete, like those real explosive guys. She's like I think that's
Mm.
what makes you very fast twitch and explosive like that. So it's just something you gotta like manage. You know what I mean? Because it can be like tight and painful sometimes. I'm always sore, but it's like that's part of what makes me like that tightness is what gives me that explosiveness and that those fast long shots. So yeah, I'm looking forward to displaying that August 11th for sure.
Yeah. And just real quick, I know we kind of glossed over it, man. You did have that
Mhm,
big time victory, right? Fighting in the PFL against Matt Turnbull, and
mhm.
you cracked him with a nasty knee right to the midsection, man. That was another beautiful knockout that you have there on your tape. That was big time. Just wanted to bring that up once again. That was big time over in the
Yeah,
PFL. And you feel like that, you kind of said it, but you kind of feel like that fight will allow you to even be more composed and calm going into this fight. You know, as you're climbing up the ladder and you're seeing that you're making the steps and you're looking fine in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just fighting on
Yeah.
a big stage like that, all the cameras, the lights, and the big names sitting cage side. Like that kid was like Eddie Alvarez's like little prodigy or whatever. So I think he's the one who like
Uh,
got on that fight, but he was cage side right there. Yeah, there's a lot of big name. Habib was there. He had a guy in the car. So it was just it's like you're around a lot of big names and a lot of just like bright lights. So it was good to get that feel. And yeah, like that kid was scrappy, man. I went in there. He'd never been knocked out before, so it was a kid with like he had like 15 fights or something like that at the time that we fought, and he had never been TKO'd. So it was cool. Like you have these little like doubts when you go into fights that man, like what I do is knock people out. Like what if I can't knock this kid out? It's like well, whatever. I guess we're just gonna grind out and get a decision. But it was cool to prove to myself, like all right, like no, I do have the ability to put anyone away, even if they've never been stopped before. And
yeah.
if someone has been stopped or TKO'd, like I think that's just more of a threat when you're fighting me, like because I'm pretty good at finding that switch and pulling people away.
Yeah, that knee is gonna finish a lot of people. You know, that knee would finish even some of the most tough of them for sure. And let's see here. You know, I want to ask you this. Let's see. Taking a look at some things I wanted to ask you. You talked about the high percentage knockout rate that you possess. I'm curious what you think about this. Trash talking when it comes to trash talking. And I feel like I kind of know the answer here talking to you, but you never know. You know, maybe you do have, you know, that wild side to you. Are you the type of guy you see the success that some of these guys are having? When I say success, I'm not even talking about getting their hand raised inside the octagon. I'm talking about, you know, the money that comes along with opening up and the opportunities that come with
Mm,
opening up. You know, Josh Hokett, as of recently, right? He
yeah,
comes in. Of course, now it's the UFC's heavyweight division, so you know you can make a quick jump to the top, but it also has a lot to do with what he's doing. And I'm not saying you know go out there and be a complete goofball like he kind of is, but one thing I've always noticed, in my opinion, that the sport is lacking very much with is to be honest, is the lack of personality and characters that you have in the fight game. For whatever reason, there's a lot of fighters that they don't really want to go down that route. And a lot of them are grounded people, right? They train, they're more humble, they kind of have those types of personalities. But in my opinion, there's just like these bags of money that are sitting there on the side. I mean, there's opportunities. There's longer, you get a longer leash, you know, if you open up a little
yeah,
bit. You know, if you come in and you're quiet, you may just get, you know, two fights. God forbid you lose them both, you're cut by the UFC. But if you go in there, you have the exciting fighting style. I'll just say that to go on top of what I'm talking about. That's regardless. But do you ever see yourself kind of going the route to just build your character, kind of have something that goes along with who you are? I'll say this one more thing, and then I'll let you speak on this. But we had Anthony Wint on last week, who is you know he hopped on the video call from his church. He was in his church. He has an office there. And when I was talking to him prior, I'm like, oh, he's probably going to be like a very you know humble church type of guy. You know, I wasn't expecting too much from him. But as I started conversating with him on the show, it kind of just poured out of him. And he started talking about how his thing is when he knocks dudes out, he takes his imaginary sword kind of, he was quoting from the Bible, and he chops their heads off. And
Yeah.
I'm watching this highlight reels. I'm like, this guy has like a thing now. And I could see him coming into the UFC and building a character. Do you ever see you kind of go in that route, trying to kind of build a character of who you are, like a brand, building a brand of who you are?
Yeah, I think there's a way to do it. I think building a brand is super important for sure, and it's something I'm trying to do. And I'm very big on like authenticity. Actually, when I was out there filming for the Contender series, they fly us out like in June, and they had us film all our like media stuff. And they did the interviews with me and just talking to all the media guys and the people who put it all together. The guy who ran it all, as he was walking me down to the next station, he said, "Hey man, I just want to thank you for being like your authentic self." He's like, "You came in here and just like it didn't feel fake, it didn't feel staged." He's like, "We appreciate that. Like you're just yourself, and we like to see that, and the company likes that a lot too." So that was cool to hear. But I know they do like those characters for sure. Be like kind of the heel. I don't think I'll ever. That's just not me. Like I said, I'm very like authentic, but I do think my brand and like just the person I am outside of fighting. Like I feel like I'm kind of like I don't know. I'm like a goofball, and I live like a fun little life out here in Colorado, and I'm into some like niche things that I think people are into, and I think there's a way to build that brand without being a dickhead, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a huge trash talk guy. I'm very like I said, I'm very passive like in life outside of fighting, but when it comes to like competition, yeah, I'm an intense dude, and I let you feel that with my presence. I think all my opponents feel that, and like I'm very short on words. Like I'll say a few things. You have a lot to say. Like I'll say one thing and let you know like it's gonna get real. But I'm not this guy who's online talking shit or in the cage, like calling Michelle Obama a dude or something like that, like
Yeah,
Josh
yeah.
Hogan.
That's
You
ridiculous.
know
Yeah.
that? Yeah, that ain't me.
But how
But
about
yeah,
like
man.
Corey Sandhagen though as well, right? Like Corey, we were talking about
Exactly,
Corey earlier.
exactly.
He's opened up a lot, I feel like, in the last couple of years with his personality. And he's kind of like he's blossomed
Yeah,
in that way, man. Sandhagen has really became like a staple of the division, besides how high level
yeah.
of a fighter he is.
For sure. And
Mm.
I think that's what I mean by like authenticity. Like him spending like I've got to spend a lot of time with Corey since like January to now. And like what you're seeing, like he is just that goofy like
Mhm.
dude. You know what I mean? Like I got to go out to in Vegas with him and like this is back when I first was out here. And like we went to the UFC fights, had a couple of beers, and like we're at the casino and he just like opened up when he's just himself. Like he is that guy you're seeing in those videos. Like
Yeah.
he's very creative and he's just a funny dude. Just like watching him exist, he's just like funny person to just watch go through life. But yeah, like that's the type of thing like I'm into. Is like that kind of branding. Like the dude, he's a great person, and he preaches that. It's the one thing he tells me, and luckily like this is how I was raised too. But just be good to everyone you come in like, contact with, like any employee with the UFC. From the lowest to the highest, like just treat
Mm.
everyone good, and that gets around, and good things happen to you, and then build your brand through that. So that's kind of what I'm going through here, man. I just believe in being a good person, be good to people, make people feel good, and be exciting. Like you said, my style itself, like I think that will cater to this stage and this company. And that was the one thing my manager and coach back home, Tyson Chartier, told me when we got this car. He's like, "Hey man, like," and Corey told me this too. He's like, "Don't try and change how you fight for this show." Like some guys go in there like, "I gotta just be crazy because it's the Contender
Mm.
series." Like the way you fight, like you're built for this show. You're an exciting fighter. Do what you've been doing, and good things are gonna happen on this show. You know what I mean? There's some little things like you take a guy down, it's like you don't want to just be laying. Like if I take this kid down, I'm getting to work. If we get in any type of
Yeah.
guy, it's like we're working. We're not just hanging out in positions. But yeah, I think just doing what I've done my past 12 fights, like that gets me a contract, that gets people excited, and that's how I plan to keep progressing my career.
It's hilarious that you kind of went that way with the response too, because that was literally my next question was, the Dana White's Contender Series fight you have coming up. How are you looking to go about fighting based off the fact that a lot of people feel you got to go out there and you got to look for the finish. There's been some fighters that have really looked good and even have gotten their hand raised via decision and haven't got signed. It is, but I know you kind of talked about it, but but you try to keep that outside your head then, right? Just go out there and just do what you're going to do like it's any other fight, huh?
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much, man. It's like I said, my style itself. I feel like it's exciting and like obviously we want to finish, right? Like I fight the way I fight, and that leads to finishes a lot of the time. Like there's little adjustments you make, like when there's those last 30 seconds or 10 seconds in a round, like you're not coasting on the contenders. It's like, all right, let's
mhm.
make an impact at the end of each round, and like, yeah, man, you got to be a little more game. You know, that's what I'm gonna show. Like if this kid's tough, you know, I expect him to bring a war, and if that's what it has to be, like, you know, it's where I'll engage in that. You know, like we'll do that if we have to. You know, if that's the way it has to be. Um, but he's gonna have to earn that, and I think that's gonna be a hard thing for him to do, and I think it's gonna be a hard thing for him to keep up with if you watch his fights and you watch his last Contender series fight. Like he's dangerous as hell, but there is a big but, and it's when
Mhm.
you survive that, or he can't get his way. Like there's a lot of holes that start to open up. The pace slows down a lot, and I think I'm a terrible guy for that to happen with. But I got to earn that too. You know, I got to bring that out of him, and I got to drown him with me. You know, that's my plan is to go in there and I know if I'm exhausted, he's way more tired than me. Like I want to
Mhm.
sink him, you know, and that's where these finishes happen. And it's gonna be very basic for me, man. Like all my fights, like basics win at this high level, and I'm just finding a way to implement them in an exciting way. You know, good jab, a lot of feints, a real mean straight right, and the sprinkle of knees and stuff, and the elbows and all that. Like you find moments for that stuff, and I'm going to create those moments August 11th, and I think that's what gets me my hand raised in a contract.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you just said there too. Just kind of already diving into that matchup that you have coming, rewatching the fight that he had against Marwan Rahiki, who Rahiki's doing some big things in the UFC. Very fun fighter. He tends to get hurt a little bit early on. At times, he's there to
Yeah.
be hit, but he had a great comeback. But I'll just ask you this: you talked about the fight. Can you give us an official prediction? Which I'll say this: of course, it's a mixed martial arts bout. Anything's can happen in there, and I'm sure you're prepared for all different aspects of the game. When I'm looking at the fight, for everyone that's listening, this just seems like it's a treat of a matchup. It looks a little bit like a striker type of matchup, and to an extent. I mean, I think both you guys like to entertain in that manner. But I could be wrong. But what's your official prediction on how you see the fight going? If you had to say,
Yeah, man.
or
I think
how do you let me say this? How do you envision it if you do, like, say you're sleeping or you're dreaming and you're
yeah,
envisioning what's going to happen on the night?
for sure. Yeah, like those are tough questions to give like 100% honest answers to because I'm an honest guy. Like I said, I like authenticity, and most people go, I'm gonna knock this kid out in the first round. I don't like to like sure, I very well can knock this kid out in one round,
Mhm.
but something that Gaethje's been preaching to me and Trevor Whitman's been preaching to me is like just expect a war, man. Expect 15 minutes of just freaking war. And that's what I'm just telling myself. Like this is going to be 15
Yeah.
minutes of the hardest shit I've ever done in my life. That's what I go to bed with every night. Why? Because it scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
does. And that's like Trevor always telling me, like that's what keeps you sharp. You know what I mean? Like that. And that's what I feel in fights. I've been trying to figure out like what is the different that the thing that like clicks for me in fights because I do feel different in a fight, obviously, than in the gym. And it's that fight or flight. And I think I just have a good natural fight or flight response where I'm that my senses are that much more heightened, and I'm a guy who's gonna go fight. I try and get right to it, and I get to work, and my fight or flight response is to kill that thing in front of me so there's no more
Mhm.
danger. You know, some guys have a hard time like opening up and getting going. So I think all that put together, man, like I think that first round I'm expecting hell. You know, like we're gonna have to be very, very smart and disciplined that first round. But I think I can drown this kid. I do think I can stop him, TKO him. Even if he shoots, you know, he's got 5 submissions to his name. I think people sleep on my grappling a lot because I haven't had to show it in my pro career. But I think that's the first thing when I train with new people, like, man, your grappling's really good. Like, dude, I wrestled my whole freaking life. I'm in jujitsu all the time, every week. Like, I'm a purple belt in jujitsu under Nick Fiore, who's with the New England Cartel. He's like one of the most high level black belts I've ever met. Great fighter himself. So yeah, I think people sleep on like I freaking submit this kid, and it wouldn't be a surprise to me at all. I do think that's a possibility as well. Like I will submit this kid. I will knock this kid out. I can finish this fight anywhere it goes, and he's just as dangerous. You know, and I respect that. That's why I prepare for war. But yeah, man, I think that first round, if he's not gone, then I think second or third, I'm stopping this kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you're saying, man. And I agree very much. And you talked about the advice that Gaethje gave you. I mean, you've seen how far it's taken Gaethje. You think back to that last bout, you could see that mindset oozing out of him in that fight. He was prepared and
Yeah.
ready for a war for 25 minutes. Not to say that, Ili Taporia wasn't. I mean, he's such a phenomenal fighter, but as you know better than I do or anything, the fight game can be brutal, as it was
Mhm.
for Taporia that night. And he met his match with Gaethje.
Yeah, and
Um,
just to go on that real quick, like Like Tapoya sure was ready for war, but how many times did he say, I stopped this kid in the first round? I stopped Justin in the first round. He celebrates his fight, his victory the night before his fights, and he's done that in the past.
Mhm.
And I think that level of confidence is important to some degree. But it's like when, like Justin said, when I'm still there after the first round, when I'm still there after the second round, that doubt creeps in because you set these expectations in your head like it's gonna be easy almost. Justin
Yeah.
was scared shitless this whole camp. I was with him every week, and like he'd be open about it. Like, yeah, it's terrifying. Everyone in the world thinks you're gonna get knocked out and flatlined by one of the scariest dudes in the sport. And he just told himself, I want to be in the best shape of my life so I can go 25 minutes of war and survive whatever this kid throws at me and sink him. And that's what he did. He didn't set any expectation other than it's going to be the hardest thing he's done. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to take from that. And that's my expectation for this. It's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've prepared that way. And I think good things happen when you approach it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree very much. And like I can imagine, like you were saying, the whole world. I mean, the vast majority of people had Gaethje losing that fight. If you
Yeah.
were to look at the betting odds for that fight, I don't know if that's something you ever look into much, but I mean, Gaethje was a huge underdog going into that matchup, and I'm sure some fighters, or I would think even the majority of fighters, probably stay away from looking at that. I don't know, but I would assume that if you do glance over at it and you see you're a 6-1 underdog or whatnot, that's got to get in your psyche too a little bit, and that just
Yeah, he
also
looks at it, dude. Justin
he
loves to
does.
look at it. He
Yeah.
looks at all of it, man. He reads the
Yeah.
comments. He looks at everything. Like he's all he was saying all camp. Like he loves that. He feeds off
Yeah.
that. Like all right, like everyone's expecting this. I'm going to show them different. Show them what hard work and the right mentality can do. And obviously, there's a lot of skill involved in that, and a lot of preparation. Like he executed. Like obviously, he got hurt a few times, and like there was always that chance. And you're fighting a guy like Elias Poor. Like Justin
Yeah.
is going to get hurt at some point in this fight, but how can we make sure we're in the best shape we can possibly be in? Because your recovery happens way faster when you're in great shape, and be able to push harder than him in those late rounds and just be durable, which is a natural thing for him. I think a lot of that durability he has, and he hits like a damn truck. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I just think he feeds off that. I'm a similar way. I don't look into it as much as he does. Like I'm not like looking all the time. I'll see occasional things. I get tagged in things like a fight, my fight poster will get announced, and like I'll scroll like down the tweets a little bit, and I see like kind of a similar thing. People think this kid's gonna come in here and like flatline me, which is sick. I love that. I love reading that, and like I just think there's so many uneducated people with a voice out there in a platform and who don't know like the truth, and there's very few that do. And I think the people who know what's what knows how August 11th is going to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, I got a couple quick fire questions for you. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like one word answers, but you can kind of make them quick or whatever works for you. But I'll throw a couple fun ones out to you. What would you rather do? Pull off a flying armbar, or would you rather land a nice clean head kick KO? Let's say for
Head
this
kick
upcoming
all
fight.
day.
Head kick
Yeah,
KO.
head kick all day. I know they would too.
Okay. Favorite fighter of all time?
Ooh, that's a very, very good question. Um, it's kind of weird, man. I was like always a huge Corey fan, like coming up. That was like one of the like surreal things about moving out here is like I was just a fan of him before
Mm.
like his early fights. Like, I'd watch his LFA fights and stuff. I was like, man, this kid's different. Like the way he moves. I tried to emulate that a lot. So I'd say he's one of my favorites to watch, but like all time, I kind of lean in boxing with this, like Tommy Earns. I watch a ton of Tommy Earns, just a
Okay.
long, rangy fighter, good straight punches. My boxing coach was always sending me film of him when I got into it. Um, yeah, I'd say like those two guys.
Okay. Very cool. How about greatest fighter of all time? Who's the GOAT?
Greatest fighter of all time in MMA.
Yeah, in MMA.
It's like time. There's such like there's so many layers to this question because I feel like the era we came up in is super important. Um, GSP is hard to argue with, but there's also like the guys people are fighting now, like man, Demetrius Johnson, um,
Yeah, I got
John
what I'm looking at.
Jones
You
is
got
hard to argue,
Jones,
man.
Demetrius, GSP. Some people throw Khabib
Yeah,
up in the mix there.
yeah. I
Um,
like to throw GSP in just for I always say GSP one because I think being a champion is more than just like winning fights. It's how you conduct yourself, the person you are outside of the sport. And I think GSP like hits all those things. Like I mean, obviously I don't know him on a personal level, but like you don't read headlines about GSP fucking up in the world. You know what I mean? He's like a
Yeah,
smart dude,
man.
good head on his shoulders. He's inspires kids. I know Rob Font and Calvin have been at TriStar, and they tell me like he's in there training still all the
Yeah,
time, learning, asking questions, and just like helping the next generation. So I think that's part of it too. I think he's a great, not that these other guys aren't great people, but we know a few of them who've gotten their nose into some
yeah,
trouble. But
yeah,
yeah, I say GSP just for the overall package.
yeah. GSP was like my original favorite fighter before McGregor.
Hmm.
But you mean GSP such I grew up watching all his fights. I mean, he was my number one. And like you said, even today, besides the fact that he's still in the gym training, if you follow him, I've come across him on some of these YouTube shows that I watch, and he's big into his health. You know, he's into fasting, he's into all these kind of things, and you could just see how balanced of a person he is for sure. I mean, a very intelligent guy, and that led to him being
Yeah.
such a good fighter. I think his IQ was big time. Um,
Hmm.
how about this? If you could fight anybody from all time, man, from history, if you could think of one guy that you could get locked into a cage with and put a beating on, whatever you want to do, or someone that you think would really be a solid match for you, you know, whatever, whoever you want to look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want to get someone in there and beat them up, or you want to go to war with
Yeah.
someone. What do you think?
Hmm. That's a good one too. I haven't thought about that ever. One person that I could get locked in the cage with.
Anybody from from history. You could get Alexander the Great in there. You could get, you know, you name them, you can get in there and see.
Yeah.
Or even like you know, some of the legends
Sheesh.
from the past. You know what I mean? From the old generation.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy. I feel like you look at the old generation and like a pretty good regional pro fighter right now would be like a UFC champion. It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy how fast,
yeah,
how much the sports have whooping on some of those guys from back then.
I agree with you. Oh, we lost you there for a second. Hold on. Oh, we lost Tom there.
Aldo
Oh,
would
hold on.
scare
There
the.
you go.
You good? We lose
Yeah,
you?
yeah. You chirped out for a second, but you came back
Cool.
in. Yeah, yeah,
I think like a prime Jose Aldo scares the crap out of me. That'd be a crazy tough fight. Um, Max
yeah.
Holloway when he was at 45, like just two long rangy, I think good strikers. I think I'm a good striker. He's the best boxer in the UFC. I'm a huge Max Holloway fan. Just to say like shit, I fought Max Holloway, that'd be crazy. Um, yeah, I'd say a prime Jose Aldo scares me the most, so we'll go with that one at
That'd
45.
be awesome. Yeah, and I grew up also a huge Aldo fan. I used to follow him back from the WEC days. I remember him. I remember watching that fight live where he went out there and hit Cub Swanson with that quick knee. I mean, that's when he really started
Yeah,
to come on the scene to me. I was in college at the time, and Aldo was
yeah.
just an absolute terror. And then, of course, you know, he came into the
Mhm.
UFC. But some people kind of forget that. Some of the newer fans, they see some of his more recent work. I mean, Aldo was leading up to that McGregor loss. I mean, he was basically invincible. I think he had a couple
Dude, yeah,
smaller
like
losses
he's in
early
that
on, but
GOAT talk for me in that greatest of all time conversation too. Like
yeah,
you said, leading up to that McGregor fight, I'm pretty sure he hadn't lost in like 10 years or something.
yeah.
Like it was like a crazy, and he was fighting killers, man.
Hmm.
And then even after that, like the dude has been competitive even beyond that. Like he's fought world class guys and beaten them since, and he's made like these weird little comebacks recently, and he does well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that dude, he's one of the best of all time. And I think Holloway belongs in that conversation too, especially when you look at like who they fought. Um, yeah, there's so many guys who belong on that list, but for me to fight someone at Prime Jose is a scary, scary dude, and I like doing things that scare me.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you this then, and this is something that we talked a lot about on the channel and on my Instagram, leading up to the McGregor fight. Just kind of talking about like a prime McGregor when he was down at
Mhm.
145, and you know he was undefeated at 145 in the octagon and all that. Who would you say? Who would you say is the greatest talent you've ever seen at 145 in their prime? If you could say one fighter is just the the most dangerous man, you would take him over any other man in their prime at 145 pounds that we've seen fight inside the UFC. You know, you
And
got
then,
Volkanovski,
yeah,
you got Max Holloway, you got Aldo, you got
yeah,
McGregor, Ilya Taporia. Who, I mean, who, what would you
yeah.
say there?
Prime man, all of them in their prime. Ah, it's hard to argue Volk. Um, I think yeah,
Oh,
dude, he ran through the
okay.
division, went up, made some poor decisions, taking short notice fights at 55
Yeah.
with Islam, and then took a quick turnaround against Ilya. Like, I'd love to see that fight in their like Volk is still friggin' killing it all. He's the champ of the world. You know, it's hard to say this dude's not his prime, but like him, like on that run to beat Max Holloway. Do you know how hard it is in this sport? And I take Volk and Max all out of it. Even at my level, to beat the same guy multiple times at this level is so damn hard. And to do it like convincingly the way Volk did against a guy like Max Holloway, like that's so hard. One, it's hard to get up for those fights. What do you fight him friggin' three times, right?
Yeah, I forget
And
if
they
it
do
was
end
like
up
3
doing
or
a
4.
fourth or
I think
something.
it might have been
Yeah, it's
4th.
like
I
four
forget. I don't know. It
times,
was a
dude.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. He won, I think, the second one. Uh, but yeah, man, like that to me in itself is harder than like winning the belt. You know, to do that is insane. And then yeah, he just tore up the division, man, and did it convincingly. And arguably, you could say he beat Islam that first fight. You know, so I think at 45, the most dangerous. Yeah, I'd say Volk in his prime.
Okay. Prime Volk.
Mhm.
Let's see. What's your favorite cheat meal? Right, you're not in camp. What's a cheat meal you go to?
Yeah.
Nice little
That's a good
steak
one
and some
too. Yeah,
taters.
steak. See, but steak to me,
I'm
like
putting you on the
we eat
spot over
steak.
here.
Yeah, we eat steak in camp. Like shit. I know
Yeah,
I'm very fortunate that Onyx is providing a chef for me this part of my camp. And
oh,
so I know
nice.
next week, like she told me like, oh, it's steak. It's like nice steak prepared stuff. So steak, I don't consider a cheat because I get
How
to
about
eat
like
that in camp.
pastas? Yeah,
Yeah,
pastas.
pasta's good. Pizza, I love pizza, man.
Mm,
Pizza's it's easy. It's easy to get, especially right after a fight. Like that's like probably the first
mm.
thing I eat because like they're open late. It's one of the first things I get my hands on. Um,
Pizza and a beer for you or not? You put no
yeah,
beer.
no,
Pizza, yeah.
I love a good beer, man. I haven't had a
Okay,
beer.
yeah,
I moved out here, and when I came out, I said no beer until I get a fight because I
yeah,
knew they told me UFC short notice or this contender series, so I kind of knew it was one or the other. So I was like, I'm holding out until I get a nice victory and feel like I earned one. So yeah, a
yeah.
nice slice of pizza, and a nice cold beer after this
Nice
fight.
celebratory brewski
Yeah,
there. That sounds good. All right, last
yeah.
one for you. Last quick question. Give me a song that comes to mind, maybe your number one hype song, a song that gets you ready to go, a song that really gets you ready to fight.
Yeah. I walked out to Victory Lap by Nipsey Hussle for like, God, 4 years straight, like for a
Okay.
long time. Um, and then I started switching it up to just like new stuff. I'm into a lot of different types of music. Um, yeah,
They
is
don't
this
let
band
you come
titled?
out, right? They don't let you come out.
Nah,
No, yeah, Dana White's
a
Contender Series. Yeah.
contender, dude. It's just silence. It's just silent. I don't
Mhm,
think they introduce you. It's just like you get in the
mhm.
cage. They do like the TV shit, but then they're just like, "You ready? You ready? Go."
Yeah.
I kind of like it. It's like a high school wrestling dual meet. Like you just walk on the mat, shake hands, and let's go. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd say like Nipsey Hussle comes on. It just puts me in a fighting mood. Um,
Oh,
feel like I want to go fight, but yeah, man. Nipsey Hussle Victory Lap. That song comes on.
okay.
It just that was like my walkout for a long time.
All right. We'll go with that. Well, I don't know if there's anything else that if there's a message that you have for the fans, and I want to let everyone know too, of course, go follow Tom on Instagram if you want to shout your handle out. I don't know if you're on Twitter or anything like that, or anything you could think of. The platform's yours. I want to open it up to you. If you want to send a message out to anybody.
Cool. Yeah. Definitely follow me on Instagram. It's just at Tom Pags. Um, I'm trying to be better about like engaging with people on there and trying to be a little more active on there. And like we said, building that brand. So follow me on there. I'm pretty fun on there. And then I'm on Twitter a little bit, not much. I just you kind of have to have it for the sport, but it's just at Tom Pags underscore MMA. Shoot me a follow on there if you want. And yeah, shout out to just everyone who's been on this journey with me. Big shout out to my coach back home, Tyson Chartier. He's flying out there. He's not in my corner for this fight because they only let you have two. So it'll be Corey Sandhagen and Carrington Banks. But
Mm,
Tyson's flying out to do my weight cut with me. He's going to be in the building there with me and be there to when I get my contract and done nothing but support me since I moved here. I freaking call that dude every single day and we talk on the phone and I can have those third corners. He'll be in there in the UFC with me too. And I owe everything to that dude. He's got me to where I am in my career. So big thanks and shout out to him. My parents for always supporting me. My wife's parents, like my wife, like no one's ever been like, hey, What do you think about getting like a real job? They've all tried to support me, and my wife supports me, works full time, so I can just train all day long and just focus on this. So this is kind of, I want to just show them like, hey, this was worth it, and that's what I'm gonna do August 11th. So make sure you tune in. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting, and I'm gonna put on a show.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like you got a lot of good people surrounding you, which
Oh
definitely
yeah.
can elevate someone even up to that next level, man. That's awesome to hear that. Well, we're going to be rooting you on. I'll be rooting you on for sure. Who knows? Maybe I'll have like a big bet that I'm giving out. I don't think
Let's
they've released
go.
betting odds on your fight yet, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
But I definitely have you winning that fight. And I'm not even just saying that because I have you on the show. I'm looking at the matchup,
Mhm.
looking at the tape. I think that's your matchup, man. That's your fight there. I think you get the finish.
I
I think you get the
appreciate that,
knockout.
brother. Thank
So
you.
I'm excited to watch and yeah, appreciate. And for everyone that's listening, right? We were talking about it. The G is silent, right? Tom
The G is
Pagulairulo.
silent,
The
but the
G is
Instagram
silent.
handle is Tom. Everyone says Pags because they can't figure it out. So I just run with Pags my whole life. My dad was Pags. His brothers were Pags. His father was Pags. So I just run with that. So Tom Pags on Instagram, but the G is silent. You're gonna say it in a big audience. I'm trying to say the whole thing. It's Pagliarulo. You killed it when you opened up the show. I appreciate that a ton.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're Italian, full-blooded
Italian.
Italian,
Yep. Yeah.
full-blooded.
I think I'm a little. My mom's side's a little Polish, but my dad's side is full Italian. My mom's
Awesome.
Italian. Yeah, big Italian
Okay.
family.
All right. All right, man. Well, good luck, and you got
Thank
it,
you.
man. You're gonna get that KO.
Appreciate it, brother.
Okay. All right,
Thank
man.
you.
I'll see you.
See ya.
All right. Yeah, that was awesome. Another great interview, man. Um, yeah, Tom. We'll catch you, Tom. I got Tom in the back, and we're gonna continue the show here, man. Like I said, guys, we're going to bring a lot of these Dana White's Contender Series fighters on the show to kick these episodes off. I love it. I really enjoy it. And when this upcoming season kicks off, it's going to be so cool as we got to chat it up and we got to know these fighters going into the matchup. So once again, I really enjoyed myself. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I see your guys' comments. We'll try to catch up over here. The house on Tom. I really do like Tom in that matchup. And I wasn't just blowing smoke at him. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at the tape on these guys. There's no odds released as of now, to my knowledge. But I look at the matchup. I mean, he has a tough and dangerous fighter in front of him. But I think that Tom has a very tough stylistic matchup for Malumba. And the fact that he could strike with him, he's longer, he hits hard. I have a feeling Tom will have the better cardio. He has that wrestling background and all that. I think he's going to get the W there. I'm very interested to see where the odds are gonna open up for that match. So I appreciate everyone that just rode through that interview with us. So yeah, you guys, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys enjoy these live streams coming at you weekly on these Wednesday nights. And I'll let you guys know I'm probably gonna do some live streams, some fight companions for the Dana White's Contender Series bouts. So that would be pretty cool. If you guys want to watch the fights with me, we'll probably be running live for the upcoming season, which that first fight is coming up on us quickly. The first fight is taking place August 11th. So just a couple weeks away. All right, guys. You guys see what the rundown is. We're going to slide through all of this here in just 1 second. But real quick, you guys, check this out. I want to put together a little prize picks lineup. Check this out, guys. Let's put together a quick prize picks lineup. I'm taking the more than 0.5 rounds on the Robert Valentin and Dusko Todorovic bout. I'm also taking the more than 1.5 rounds on Jovan Leka and Popik, the heavyweight matchup that we have there. I need one more selection. I'm going to go with the more than 2.5 rounds for Navajo Sterling and Jan Blachowicz. I'm going to throw $100 on this. Check the payout, guys, $229. Let me know. You guys think I'm going to cash this? Also, don't forget, use the code HMA. Play a $5 lineup. If you're victorious, you get $150 added to your account. Check that out, guys. All right, guys. There it is. We put together a little lineup, and we're going to be talking some more UFC Belgrade in just a minute, but we're going to recap UFC Abu Dhabi. If you guys didn't know, once again, guys, it's crazy how often I get to say this as of recently, and I'm really milking it. I'm enjoying it because, as you guys know, you can't win every fight card, and there's been some rough patches without a doubt throughout the years. It's just 2026 has been absolutely epic. If you guys want to take a look at the official targets that we had two big time parlays that came through for us. We put together Magomed Ankalaev, with Magomed Azainikov. I really like that. I felt very confident in both big-time favorites. We also put together Rizvan Kuniev with Sam Patterson. I felt very confident in the Patterson KO as well. How about the Ramazan Timirov victory, which if you guys caught the full card breakdown, and initially it was on the fence with which way I wanted to go with that fight. And the more I was looking at the tape, it played out exactly how I thought it would. I just thought that Timirov was going to be too damn dangerous on the feet for Urseg. The defensive flaws are there with Urseg on the feet. He had that length, but Timirov was going to come in and land big, and he gets the nasty first round KO. We had two small losses. I took two small stabs on Thomas Peterson at dog odds. And then we also had the small dog play on Mike Davis, which I stand behind those plays. Mike Davis, he thought he was in a boxing match, or he wanted to be in a boxing match. You might as well leave the sport. You know, you can't be complaining about a fighter taking you down. You need to stuff the takedowns. And I thought Davis would have done a better job doing that. And let me not gloss over the solid play that we had on Axel Sola. That was another spot I felt very confident in. 4 units on Axel Sola. He's just he's a better fighter than Ismail Bonfim. Bonfim's fun, but Sola's the real deal. He's long. He has a lengthy amateur resume, and he is a solid pro right now. He's dangerous. He's big for the division. He's showing off how well-rounded he is. I like his striking. And the Mason Jones loss that he had coming into the UFC did not scare me away from how I felt about him going into that fight, which I did have him against Jones, and we lost there. But I knew Sola's the real deal, and trust me on that, he is. So another huge event, guys. If you want my official targets for this upcoming event, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Email me or DM me on Instagram. I'll give you further information. I got a couple different options for you guys. So we are on fire. If you would have been rolling with me from the start of 2026, you would have made a ridiculous amount of profit. We're up over 60 units right now this year. It's one of the best years I've ever had. And again, I'm not somebody that really rants and raves about it as much as I should. Honestly, if you look at what some of these other guys do, they're out there with losing events and they're sitting there chirping about what they're doing. So everyone that's rolling with me that gets my official targets, you guys know what we're doing. Okay. And I got a lot of people that I work with. Okay. There's a lot of people listening right now that work with me. There's no making this up. I mean, I have people that are on the yearly subscriptions that get these emails and the messages sent out to them towards the beginning of every fight week. You guys know what we've been doing. So shout out to all you guys that ride with me there. And if you want to join the team, reach out to me. All right, guys. So we wrapped up UFC Abu Dhabi. From there, yeah, man, we got we had hit the bell there. We do have a new matchup that I want to quickly break down, because on the full prediction video for this upcoming event, UFC Belgrade, I'm just going to quickly go over the newly added matchup that we have of VOLOGDIN. And let me pull it up real quick. We have another Serbian fighter that was added to the card, who is the slight favorite, and Borislav Nikolic. He's taking on Mark VOLOGDIN. VOLOGDIN was supposed to be taking on Musasa. That was one of my most highly anticipated fights originally on the card. I'm disappointed Musasa withdrew. I had Musasa winning the fight. I thought the length and the power on the feet was going to be too much. I'll let you guys know. I'm on the newly signed and the fighter that's newly added to this card. I'm on the Serbian Nikolic here. I break down his tape. I'm not going to say I'm extremely impressed with it, as he is the Brave champ. He's coming over from Brave CF. But he has some power. He has some striking. I've seen the pace pushed on him with the grappling. He defends takedowns pretty well. And VOLOGDIN's well-rounded, but he's so undersized for this division. I don't see him having the success with the wrestling if he chooses to try to change levels. And he welcomes these brawls on the feet. And I just think, even as polished as his striking is, he's there to be hit. He's there to be countered. He's massively undersized, and I just can't back him. I'm a fan of his style. He needs to go down to the flyweight division, and he needs to fight a little bit more intelligently. The John Castaneda fight was very fun. The Martinetti fight on DWCS was a lot of fun. But I do believe that Nikolic has what it takes to pull off the W here. When it comes to the betting odds for this fight, I'm looking at the current odds right now. Nikolic is right around a minus 180 on the favorite side. VOLOGDIN is right around a plus 150. I do believe that right now, where this line states, I'm really on the fence. It's a very accurate line. I almost want to, you know what? I am going to say I'll side with the chalk, actually, with Nikolic. I was close to saying I'll side with the plus action there on VOLOGDIN, but defensively, he just worries me too much. And actually, I won't even say that there is value on his plus 150, plus 155. He's well rounded. He's going to learn a lesson here. He needs to drop down and weight. Enough is enough here. And I think that NIKOLIC, he has some things going on here besides the size advantage. He's taken the fight on short notice, but he's seasoned enough. In fact, if you look at him compared to VOLOGDIN, he has 18 pro fights. He has the same amount of pro fights as VOLOGDIN, essentially, but he is 33 years old compared to the 26 of VOLOGDIN. He's a little bit more, I would say, or at the very least, he's just as mature and seasoned. But he would say he's more physically in his prime, more physically mature, and I think he'll be a little bit more ready for this fight here than VOLOGDIN, even though he's taking it on short notice. All right, so that's how I feel about that bout there. All right. Now we'll take a look at some prop bets for UFC Belgrade, and I'll try to narrow in here on a couple. I know some of you guys were saying you wanted me to talk more about this on last week's stream, and I see you guys. I see you guys in the comment section. Def want Profit Pit back. Profit Pit is coming back. I promise you guys, the Profit Pit is coming back 100%. I wanted to kind of get the rundown over here. I wanted to get this kind of solidified. I wanted to get our feet under the show of the rundown and kind of get this going. And then I want to start mixing in. I have another show, a different style show I'll eventually bring on, but I want to start mixing them up week to week as we move forward. But I want to get a couple more of the rundowns in, especially as we're cruising into Dana White's Contender Series. But not to say we can't bring a fighter on for an interview and then hit a Profit Pit episode up at the tail end of the interview. So yeah, we will have the Profit Pit back 100%. Okay, guys, I promise you that. So, all right, from there, we will take a look at some prop bets, which right now, let me pull up some that caught my eye. There was a couple I told you guys that I wanted to talk more about, which, and guys, don't forget, we are going to break down the PFL main card at the tail end of this video. So stick around with me. That's something that we definitely are going to dive into, and we'll dive into that a little bit more deeply than we did for the last PFL main card. And you could expect that for every single live stream that we're doing, as long as there's a PFL event taking place that weekend, which it's taking place this upcoming Friday. All right. So let's see here, man. Some prop bets. I wanted to look into the main event off the rip. I think we definitely got to dive into what's available for the main event. That's a fight that I don't see going the distance. I don't think many of us do. I mean, if you take a look at the odds, it's favored to end. You take a look right now. It's the under 1.5 rounds is set at -200. So there's not really a lot of value there. This fight is projected to finish inside the distance. The knockout is what you want to look at. This fight is most likely to end in a KO either way. That's where we've seen both of these men kind of fumble at times. You would say, I mean, D-Rod's lost via decision, but Medic got KO'd by Pagliarulo as of recently. Can D-Rod replicate some of that magic? I'm not really seeing it go down like that. I think that Medic is going to be too much for a D-Rod that was just in jail for 8 months and creeping up to his 40s and all that. Medic to get a KO in this fight. Let's take a look at just where that line is real quick. Medic to win inside the distance is set at -330. I think at that point you would have to narrow in on a KO. You can get Medic to win via TKO, KO at -250, 230. Not a lot of value going on there. Really not much to talk about. I did want to take a look at that with you guys. Let's take a look at Vlasto, Seppo, and Gilbert Urbina. That's a fight that I think is very likely to end early or end by KO. Once again, you're seeing that the line is an agreement with me there. An under 1.5 is at -300 right now. I want to see what Seppo is to get a KO/TKO, because I think that's a very likely scenario. He's super aggressive, and I think he can get an early finish in that type of manner. But we're really looking at the same kind of situation, man. I'm looking at as low as -190. If you can catch that at -190, that's something that you want to target. But I do see it ranging up to -230, 250, depending on your book. -190, anything in the -100s is playable there. I do think that Seppo is going to get a stoppage. If he doesn't get that stoppage, I think he may be stopped. That's a fight where I think they're really going to clash early on. Let's take a look. What else we got here? I think I promised you guys we were going to take a look. Let's take a look at this. Jovan Leka and Alexander Popik, which if you guys saw the prize picks pick that we went with, I like the more than 2.5 rounds there. This is kind of in agreement with me here, right? I mean, these odds they're seeing what I'm thinking here, but the fight to go the distance overall, you can catch that at +125. that's something you might want to keep an eye on. I have a feeling the pace will be slowed down a little bit, and these big boys will kind of go at it. And I think that that's a fight that makes it to the final bell. You can get plus action on that over, over 1.5. If you want to play it safer, you could still catch that at minus 190. But keep an eye on that heavyweight bout to not end early. I'm not looking at that as some of the other heavyweight bouts that we've talked about as of recently, where I kind of projected those early finishes. That one, I think it slows down. The pace slows down a little bit there. Let's see here. How about this? Bogdan Grad and Denis Buzukja. This is a fight which, if you guys don't know, I did pick the underdog to win this fight. And I saw one of you guys in the comment section coming at me. So when I pick these fighters that I kind of have a connection with, you guys come at me that I'm biased. I give you a pick like this where, if you don't know, Bogdan Grad's kind of a friend of the show, and I pick against him just because I really feel that this is a dog spot. And Denis Buzukja, he has boxing skills. I know he's coming in off a horrific KO loss, but so is Bogdan Grad, right? He got finished pretty brutally too, and he's been hurt throughout his entire career. Even in fights where he's won, he's been landed on. I think Buzukja has the potential to be right in that fight. He's a plus 165 up to a plus 175 right now as a dog. I want to take a look at what Buzukja is, or in general, this fight to end early. Check this out. Fight to end inside the distance is at minus 115 right now. I don't think that fight makes it to the final bell. I think we see a finish in that fight. So you take a look at that. If you want to get a little bit more aggressive, you could take a look at the fight to end in round 1. It's at plus 320. You could look at the under 1.5 rounds. It's at plus 210. And I'm throwing plus action at you guys. These are just some thoughts of mine. I think I see some potential value on some of these spots. These are spots that kind of stand out to me as far as some prop bets go. All right, I'll leave you guys with that as far as that goes. All right, so most to gain at UFC Belgrade. Now this is interesting, right? And you guys let me know too, man. Hit the comment section up. Who do you guys think has the most to gain? But wait, real quick, let me get to a couple of your guys' questions. I know I'm passing you guys up, which look, here we go. Brady C actually says, how do you feel about the under on the Buzukja fight? And yeah, I like the under, and I like that. So it's funny enough you asked that. I didn't even see that. Teller, what do you think of this parlay? Nina moneyline, Leka moneyline, Rebecki moneyline, Seppo moneyline, Rakic moneyline, Medic moneyline, $8 to win $87. What I really think is, if I were to give you, my real advice would be not to put parlays together like that. I think that's not the smartest move. If you're going to mix parlays, keep them to 2 teams, 3 teams, and make sure the sports book that you're working with, make sure, even when you're doing those 3-team parlays, make sure that the odds are correct, because what a lot of these books will do is they'll skew the odds. The more you attach all these legs, they know that you're not really doing the math there, and they're not going to give you the actual ratio that you should be getting. So that's really my advice to you is, you're going to lose long-term doing those kind of targets, and you're going to lose in a major way. So don't do that. Oliveira KO and under time on Buzukja fight. That's very likely. It's very likely there. Those dog picks bark. It's not all fluff. We all know. And Teller, we trust. Shout out to my boy Boss Williams there. All right. Caught up a little bit over here. A couple more coming. Grad by decision is Daniel Forrest says grad by decision. So you kind of feel that the fight does go the distance. So we'll see. We'll see about that. Two fighters that do get hurt. So we'll see. But from there, man, most to gain at UFC Belgrade, which, I think you can go a couple different ways with this. And you guys let me know if you agree here. Most to gain, I think, first off, I look at Daniel Rodriguez. Man, D-Rod coming into this opportunity, if he were to go out here and pull off the upset against Uros Medic, who is on fire right now, if he were to defeat him in his home country of Serbia, mixed with the fact that D-Rod is coming into this fight off of the 8-9 month jail stint that he just had in Mexico. He was on the Joe Rogan Experience. He has a kind of a household name, right? To an extent, he's like one of those fringe guys that's, close to like, exploding a little bit into stardom. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but he's close to it. He has the look. If he were to go out here and get a big victory, I think that you would see him get some massive opportunities moving forward. I think that his next fight would be huge. You'd be talking about a massive payday, or a jump up in pay, and you'd be talking about him as a fighter that at 39 years old, if he wants to continue to go out there and throw down, even if he takes an L in the next fight, they'll still give him some of the bigger opportunities, being placed on the big events, because he'll have that type of name. So he's coming into this fight on a 3-fight winning streak. If he gets a W here over Medic, he has a lot to gain by it. They'll give him a big time matchup, I would assume, on like a pay-per-view type event, maybe like early on, maybe on the prelims, but maybe early on in the main card. And, maybe they'll throw him in there in a fan friendly fight that it's against someone that they can throw down and entertain us. And then you never know, man. You see some of these guys like Bobby Green, some of these fighters, they've been doing it for a long period of time, and they're starting to blossom late. So I throw D-Rod out. Of course, Uros Medic has a ton to gain. He's the young fighter that's on the up and up. If he gets a W here, he's continuing to climb up the ladder, and he can work his way towards potentially fight, working his way up through the rankings. And of course, he has aspirations to fight for a belt and all that. I mean, he has to get a W here for sure. Vlasto Seppo, I'll throw him in the mix too. D-Rod is my pick for the most to gain, but I'll also throw Vlasto Seppo as, if he comes in here, gets a finish, then everybody will be kind of aware of who he is, which he's a very exciting fighter. He'll be introduced to us, and that's a fighter that you'll start to see scattered on more recognizable events. He'll be kind of a fun fighter there. So those are the 3 fighters that stood out to me when you're talking about fighters that have the most to gain. And there's a couple of them, man. There's a couple of them. So any sports books have PFL fights? Yeah, there's odds that are released, and we're going to talk about that as we work through this. So there's definitely odds on a couple of these books out here. We'll keep sliding through, man. We're going to quickly talk about the matchup that was announced, which is the rematch between Arman Tsarukyan and Charles Oliveira. I love this fight. That first fight, if you guys remember it, it was extremely competitive. I love the matchup in the sense that Tsarukyan goes out there and dominates with his grappling a lot. Charles Oliveira is one of the greatest BJJ practitioners we've ever seen in the sport of MMA. But as of recently, you're seeing him go in there and dominate with his wrestling, right? He's just completely controlling guys. And I'm very curious to see how this rematch goes, because Charles had a lot of success, but he did kind of lose those wrestling exchanges, if you will. He was the fighter on his back, even though he was threatening with subs. But I'm curious the approach that Charles will have this time, as I think that his wrestling's gotten better. And I hope that we get to see them throw down in the feet a little bit more, or, just again, if you will. I'm very, very excited for that fight. And we do not have current odds for that fight as of now. Going into that last match, Tsarukyan, I think he opened up as like a minus 195, settled as a minus 220, right? He was the favorite. Charles was like a plus 180, 190. I think that the odds will be closer going into this fight. I think just with the success that Charles has had going out there dominating, I think that the line will be closer. I'm curious. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? And who do you guys have winning that fight? I still got to lean Tsarukyan. I'll say Tsarukyan gets the job done. Once again, just based off I think his wrestling is a little bit better. I don't know. So let's see here. Teller, who announced the Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira rematch for the BMF belt? I don't know. I don't know who announced it. I heard that the fight's going down though. No, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off my rocker here. I mean, I think it's official. No, and I don't know if is there going to be a BMF belt. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even do that based off Oliveira's last performance. And I don't know. Why do I feel Navajo loses this weekend? Well, if you look at Navajo, I mean, you could say first off for the fact that Blachowicz is in front of him, who is a fighter that even up at age is still shown to be extremely well-rounded, dangerous in game. But I would have to lean towards the Sterling side. I think that he will just be the fighter that wins, minute to minute in that bout. I think Blachowicz will need to shake things up and really do something special in there. He needs to kind of step up the activity. As of recently, he's been a little bit patient in there. He needs to step it up and shake things up. But that's Rookie and Oliveira fight. That's one that I'm very excited for. And then if you guys didn't hear as well, the UFC did just recently have a new signing, the KSW champ Saladin Parnasse, who signed with the UFC. If you guys saw him, he fought on that MVP event that was headlined by Rousey and Gina Carano, and he looked damn good on that card. And he was already a fighter that was on our radar. It was kind of not interesting. I mean, it made sense, right? He had a payday over there. He showcased his talent to the world, and it's good to see that the UFC is scooping up those kind of fighters, even snatching them up from MVP, the MVP promotion, if you will. I don't know when the MVP has another event coming up, but they're obviously not doing what they need to do to lock up fighters like that, high level fighters like Parnasse. If they were really doing their thing, they would be locking these guys up, and they would start to string off a schedule to us, right? So they're kind of giving us these boxing type of style of events, or they're just popping them out to us once in a blue. Which, if they really want to compete with the UFC, give us at least an event per month. How about that? Do it like the UFC did back in the day. If the very least, give us an event once a month, and we'll keep up with some of these high level fighters, and maybe some of us will gravitate towards that promotion. But what about the GFL? Right, the GFL is supposedly having a comeback. And for the record, Parnasse is signed to, I believe, headline. As of right now, he is the main event against Dan Hooker, which that will be a solid fight, man. That, at least stylistically, that's a better fight for Dan Hooker compared to some of the fights that he's had as of recently. Hopefully you get to see them go to war. But yeah, Hooker is going to be in a tough spot there because he's just an aged fighter, and he has a very talented stud coming his way. So, sneak peek, I don't have Hooker winning that fight. I'll tell you guys that much. Just to circle back, Charles is more active than Arman in the UFC. He almost beat Arman in the first fight. Some people called it a robbery. Yeah, man, that's true. A lot of people thought that Oliveira won the fight. It was very close. It was an extremely close fight. I thought Arman deserved to win the fight based off of the control that he had and whatnot. I know Charles was threatening with subs, but I still thought that Arman won that fight. It was very close. Let's see here. I feel Seppo is lacking in a lot of areas. I don't think he is as good as everyone thinks he is. I agree with you there. I agree. I don't look at him as some fine-tuned product coming into the UFC. He's not a very well-rounded fighter. He's extremely aggressive. He's very physically imposing. And stylistically, this is just it's a solid matchup for him. Urbina is a fighter that you would think is lacking confidence right now based off of the recent success that he has not had. And I think that Seppo's he's gonna win that fight. I think that he's very live to get a KO. I think he lands a lot of damage. Urbina is just not gonna halt any of the hype that Seppo's bringing in. So, but yeah, you match Seppo up with some higher level opponents, and you could see him stylistically get exposed. I agree with you there. I agree with Teller. I'm scared of betting Sterling. Let's see here. Teller, notice the UFC took all of Francis Ngannou's potential matchups and other fighters from MVP MMA. Yeah, so interesting point. So you're saying that the UFC is snatching up everybody, all the heavyweight free agents, huh? So I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about Gable Steveson, Josh Hokett, maybe some of the young talent that they've signed as of recently. Of course, we had Anthony Wint. I mean, that's obviously a whole different ballgame, but it's a young prospect. These are younger prospects coming up. I'm trying to think as far as an established heavyweight. Maybe you're referring to Anthony Popic and, excuse me, you're talking about the heavyweight matchup that we have going on this upcoming event with Popic and Jovan Leka. Maybe, you're referencing that because they've been having a lot of success fighting outside the UFC. I mean, Leka, to me, it baffled me that he's not inside the UFC already, as Leka was victorious on DWCS, and he's been stringing off victories outside of the UFC, and he's a big boy. He's talented. I mean, he should be in the UFC. I mean, the UFC has to sign those types of guys if you're referring to them. And if I'm missing anyone else who you're referring to that they've recently signed in the UFC division, yeah. Maybe just throw those names out there too, because I'm sure there are some other heavyweight fighters I'm not thinking about. But you guys know what time it is now, man. We're gonna go dive into this PFL event, which I'm excited about this, man. I've been actually getting a little bit more into the PFL. Not to say that I haven't been throughout the years. I've been more into it at certain periods of time, but that they've kind of strung off a recent schedule to us that's been quite impressive. I like the fights that we're seeing, and I want to dive into this event here, this 4-fight main card, which you guys got the graphics, so you can stick with me here. And of course, we'll start with the main event, and I do have odds available. So yeah, one of you guys were asking if there's odds up for this event, and there's plenty of books that have put these odds out at this point in time as I'm looking right now. In fact, before I started this video, some of these books didn't even have the odds up, and now we see more of them releasing to us. So in the main event, we have Usman Nurmagomedov taking on Archie Colgan. If you don't know about Archie Colgan, man, very talented fighter. He has that wrestling pedigree. It's funny because we were just talking, me and Tom Pagulairulo were talking offline, and he's training out there in Colorado right now, and Archie's out there. Okay, Archie's getting in work with Justin Gaethje, and a lot of that high level talent that's over there in Colorado. That's massive. And Colgan is a true talent. I like a lot what I've seen from him, dating back to before he even really started to make a name for himself in the PFL. I mean, when he was like a young prospect coming up in the PFL, like you circle back to some of these bouts that he's had. First, yeah, over in the Bellator scene, really. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Over in the Bellator, he was carving a name out over there, defeating recognizable names like Emmanuel Sanchez, Thibaut Gatti. How about the victory that he had over at Manuel Souza? Manuel Souza's in the UFC right now, and he's a dangerous striker. Colgan, he's well-rounded. He's not a fighter that really strings off combinations a lot with his striking. He kind of just has these explosive bursts of striking and he tries to push the pace with his wrestling. He's very high level. Now, this is a test, though. Manuel Souza, dangerous man, but he's not an Usman Nurmagomedov. Where Nurmagomedov, I feel, can have a lot of success in this bout is using anti-grappling and then getting the better of the striking. His kicking game is dangerous. I think he's the more well-rounded striker. He'll string off combinations together much better than Colgan. If Colgan's going to have success in this bout, I think it possibly could come in the later rounds. But to be clear, I don't see the fight playing out like that. But Colgan's possible path to victory would be to lean on that wrestling and try to have some of the success that we saw Paul Hughes have in their matches, which, if you guys remember those two fights, they went 50 minutes all in all. A lot of people thought that Paul Hughes won those bouts. Okay, they were extremely close, but I'll tell you what, Paul Hughes he's a fine young fighter, and it's a shame he's not in the UFC. So just to kind of make you understand what's going on there. But how about the victory that Nurmagomedov just had against Alfie Davis? He went out there, pulled off the submission in the third round, pulled off the arm triangle choke there. So listen, I've seen some people kind of pointing towards value on Colgan, and I'm a Colgan guy, right? I'm someone that's been high on him. I've been making money on him, targeting him from the Bellator days and all that. But I'm not looking at this match like that, even with the wide odds. For some reason, and it's just, and you could say, oh, what do you mean for some reason? It's Nurmagomedov. It's Usman Nurmagomedov. He's undefeated. Of course, that's an easy side to pick on. But no, when you really look at this fight and then you understand the odds as well, which they're decently steep, Usman Nurmagomedov is like a -450 right now, -425. He's a big-time favorite. It's actually almost more easy to say there's value on Colgan. He's a stud undefeated fighter. But no, I'm on the other side, actually. I like Nurmagomedov. I just think that he's too damn game. He's 28 years old, man. He's young. He's still growing as a fighter. He's still becoming a better version of himself. It's Colgan that's 31, even though I know Colgan's getting better as well. But Nurmagomedov is just a different animal, man, in my opinion, than many others. And I really like the way he looked in that last bout, and I think that he gets the better of Colgan. I'm going to lean towards this fight to go the distance. I'm going to say this fight goes the distance, okay? Championship fight, right? 5 rounds, and I still say it goes the distance. Nurmagomedov has some length to rely on. I think he stuffs takedowns. He can threaten with chokes if Colgan gets desperate with the grappling and the wrestling. I think Nurmagomedov can show he's dangerous there, and he'll create space, and he'll get the better of the striking. I think Nurmagomedov should be able to lock up at least 3 rounds, if not 4. I'll say Colgan wins at least a round, maybe 2, but I don't see him winning the decision. And I'm going to side with the chalk, even that very high chalky line. I'm going to lean that way. Usman Nurmagomedov is the truth, and I don't see him losing. So that's kind of how I'm looking at that bout there. And then we look at this one, and you guys take it easy on me here with the graphic. That's not Dakota Decheva that they're showing there, and that's her opponent Denise Keyholtz. I'm sorry, I don't got Dakota to put on the screen there, but you guys can visualize what she looks like. And I don't have to go too long into this matchup here, guys. If you didn't know what's going on here, Dakota Decheva, who is there, that's not her there, but you can see her over here. and she is phenomenal. Another fighter that, in my opinion, it's a shame that she's not fighting in the UFC. Some of you guys may disagree, and you like to see talent spread out throughout other promotions. I wish the UFC had this girl to work with. I think she'd be a huge star in the sport of MMA. I just don't think that the PFL, at least right now, can take her to that level, even though she's still a star to an extent. But this girl's striking is so fun to watch, man. Victories over Jenna Bishop, Talia Santos, Chelsea Hackett. I mean, these are, if you run her highlight reel up, it's very impressive. She'll hurt these girls in a variety of ways. Denise Kiholtz, she has that striking background. If you guys remember, she fought in Bellator back in the day. She has a kickboxing background, but I mean, the Joanne loss, or that was it was a split decision. Yeah, that was a very alarming loss in 2022 against a lower level fighter. And although you could try to look at this fight as, oh, it's a striker versus striker, maybe, you know, she could thrive on her background here. I don't think she hangs at all. She's massively undersized, and I just think that this is a Dakota Ditcheva spot all day. And Dakota Ditcheva is, check this out, on some of these books right now, she's a minus 8,000. So obviously you can't do anything with that. You could look to get her by KO, but you can't even do that actually, because the lines are all going to be crazy. If you had to bet this fight, you got to throw $10 on Kiholtz and just hope. You shouldn't even do that, but if you had to, maybe you hope that there's an injury or something fluky happens with an injury, almost essentially. Kiholtz has had a couple knockouts, but I don't see her landing on Ditcheva. Ditcheva's too big, too technical, and that's going to be another knockout for Dakota Ditcheva probably early on, first or second round. I'm calling the KO there for sure. So, all right. From there, we take a look at, we got Dovlet Yagshermeredov taking on Simeon Powell, which they got, that's not Simeon Powell too. I'm sorry about the graphics here. We'll get that cleaned up, but Simeon Powell does not look like that. He looks more like that, which he's a very rangy fighter for this division. He has an 85-inch wingspan. He has one of the longer wingspans you'll see. He's a solid, dangerous striker. He'll mix it up, man. He'll hurt you in a variety of ways. I've seen him sneak knees in through the clinch, and he's snuck in knees where you don't even know how he snuck them in extremely tight in the clinch scenario. The Antonio Carlos Jr. loss was a little disappointing. If you guys remember that one, former UFC fighter who's still having a lot of success, but I wasn't crazy about the way he looked overall in that bout. The Rafael, keep wanting to call him Xavier, Xavier. We just saw him win, right? We picked him as a dog over Tyson Pedro, and he's a good fighter. So that was a big win for Powell there, and that was a close split decision victory. This is a fun fight, man. Kind of a striker versus striker with Yagshermeredov. He's very dangerous. Okay, if you guys caught the knockout that he had over Impa Kasingane, that was very impressive in the first round. The Corey Anderson loss, that was a 5-round fight. Corey is a beast, and Corey is a different stylistic matchup than Powell. The thing I don't like about Yagshermeredov at times is he'll have a little bit of low output, and I do question his cardio a bit. And I think that Powell could get the better in the later rounds of this matchup. And I also look at the Tyson Pedro victory, which he was hurt very badly in the third round. If I remember correctly, he was dropped and he lost that round, but he was already up on the prior two. He won via decision. He was almost knocked out. He did show a lot of toughness there as well, but an explosive striker who can hurt you. He can outpoint you. Had the knockout over Jacob Nadeau here. I mean, he's talented. Don't get it twisted. Julius Anglicus, he had a victory over him there. Rafael Carvalho, he had a knockout over him. He's talented. I'm very much on the fence with my pick here. I think that, if Yagshermeredov doesn't have that success early on in the fight, it specifically, things can get a little tough for him as the fight progresses. Man, let me pull up the odds here, which Yagshermeredov currently is the favorite at minus 155. Sneak peek, I definitely don't side with him where that line is. I think this is a dog spot if you're betting on the money line. I like Powell at plus 115. And you know what? I will pick Powell. I'll pick Simeon Powell to win that fight. Yagshermeredov, talented striker. I can't rely on him. I can't rely on him. He's talented. He comes through once in a while, but he's a little bit of an unreliable fighter. Powell is a young fighter who's on the up and up. He has a crazy frame. He's dangerous in his own right. I'll say that Powell shows that growth, and I'll side with the dog in that matchup there. So we got a dog call for you on the money line. And that takes us to the other main card bout that we have here in Amru. Magomedov is taking on Angel Alvarez. Not going to go extensively into this matchup. If you guys haven't caught the odds for this, it's pretty crazy. Magomedov is a minus 3,800, almost competing with the DHABI line. So the PFL, they got to get the matchmaking together there. I understand they have some of these stars that they're trying to get to blossom to us in front of our eyes, but you got to give us some better matchups for us to take these fights a little bit more seriously. Listen, you're looking at this matchup, Magomedov. He's a very grapple heavy fighter. He'll open up with the ground and pound and all that, but he's not a fighter that really styles from range typically. He's shown some growth there. But Angel Alvarez is very low output, and he just does not impress me. He's extremely low output. He's won the majority of his fights via decision. I don't see him doing that here. Even, he has this southpaw stance where he looks like he's tight and technical and ready to go, but the volume is low. And I just think that even if Magomedov struggles to get this fight down to the mat, he's going to be, wiry. He's going to be landing better. And if he doesn't run into that counter KO, it's just a fight that he dominates. But the line, what do you want me to tell you, man? The line's crazy. I'll say that Magomedov wins. He gets this fight down to the mat, and I'm going to say he opens up with some ground and pound. Maybe the sub opens itself up, or he gets the TKO stoppage, right? The majority of his victories do come by way of finish. And as you see, the 2 times we've seen Angel Alvarez lose, he was finished, one by sub, one by KO. More recently, he was submitted by Derek Sanders back in 2023, got caught in a rear naked choke. I'll call a sub. I'll say that the sub opens up as he starts to unload with some ground and pound. We'll go with that. So, and let's see over here, man. Yeah, got the bell going there too. So let me try to catch up on some of your guys' comments. But if not, man, we've been running for an hour and a half. Let me see what you guys are talking about. Yeah, the UFC just re-signed 37-year-old Robelis de Spain. The age isn't too much of a factor there. You're talking the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division, you could really thrive in your late 30s. And I like the signing. They should have never let him go. A little bit of a one-dimensional fighter, but you've seen that he's looking to sharpen things up. And he's had that big victory over JDS, right? And the striking is just so dangerous. Give him some fun matchups. Oh, and that's who you were talking about as far as the UFC snatching up a potential opponent from Francis Ngannou. Okay, yeah. Forgot about Robelis de Spain. He slipped my mind. Let's go. The Teller, what a big dog. Shout out to you, Shamos. What up, Teller? I'm hyped for this PFL card. You're going to be there live, man. Shout out to you, man. VZN Scary. Let's see what we got. Nurmagomedov is going to Glitty. What Nurmagomedov does win. Remember, Teller, Panthers fan. Shout out to the Panthers. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. And by the way, Usman Nurmagomedov, is he good enough to make an impact in the UFC? 100%. Yeah, he's definitely that good. And Usman, I believe he has 2 fights left on his contract going into this bout. So I think he has one more fight left after this one. And we potentially could see the UFC sign him. You may see a little bit more of a sense of urgency with him looking to finish this fight or put on a show as he starts to get, to the end of his contract. That's something you got to keep an eye on because there's a reality to that. Trust me on that. You think about like baseball players or any other kind of sports, a lot of these guys, when they're in that contract year, you see a rise in their performances. Okay. And then when they get these big contracts, they slow down. Now the fight game is a little bit different, but I think you may see a little bit more of a sense of urgency. All right. The solution. Let's just parlay all the favorites and hope we don't get our ass shaved. That's good. I don't know. Be careful. I wouldn't recommend that. I think well, first off, those other 2 favorites. Yeah. I mean, you're really just looking at the Powell fight as far as the deciding factor, or, if you're going to go with Colgan on the dog. But yeah, the other 2 fights they're massive favorites. So let's see. Teller, real talk. Recently, Dakota said she would beat Valentina Shevchenko. Who do you think wins that elite matchup, and how do they win? Right now, shit, man, I think the thing is, you got to realize is that Shevchenko is just getting up there in age while Dacheva is cruising into her prime. So that's kind of the issue you have going on there right now as we speak. I mean, Shevchenko is more proven. Can she go to the wrestling and the grappling? I would probably have to side with Shevchenko just based on the fact that I've seen her prove to be more well-rounded and she's so professional. She's still coming in shape even though she's up there in age. But that could be a fight where, age starts to catch up with her. Dacheva is like a new age type of fighter. Let's go. This fight is what fight is canceled? Oh, Dovle pulled out, man. Damn. I missed that. So he must have just pulled out recently, no? Pull this up real quick. I wonder if does anyone know, do they have an opponent for him already? That's annoying because I was kind of looking forward to that fight. Let me see real quick. Yep, and you guys are right. Well, it's pulled. It must have just got pulled today, I believe. And I hope they get Powell back on this card, man. That's a shame. Otherwise, you're going to see Rufian Stotts and Lazaro Dayron bumped up to the main card, I'm assuming, as Stotts has a recognizable name there, which odds for that fight, Dayron's coming in as the favorite too. Stotts is a dog. So that's interesting there, but I don't know. Hopefully they get Powell back on the main card. What does Powell have for him? I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, Powell can strike, man. He's long, he's rangy, and he has that dog in him, and he has the activity late in fights. And we just saw Shagmaradov get hurt late in that last fight. So Robelis versus Walker. That would be wild. And here we go. I think this is Usman's last fight on his contract, at least what I heard on the Ariel Helwani show this past week. Okay, so I'm mistaken. I thought he had 2 fights left. But damn, if this is his last fight, even more of a fire should be under him, as he'll have options to go either to the UFC or get paid massively by the PFL. So, guys, I had a blast. We've been running for an hour and a half. I think that's a nice little marker there. An hour and a half. We got to know Tom Pagulairulo. And next week, guys, I will be bringing on another week 1 fighter for DWCS, which next week it looks like we will have John Kuhneman, who is taking on Joseph Kropshot, which is another banger matchup on the card. I mean, shit, if we have more time, maybe we'll get some of the other fighters. Ab Alasegar, funny enough, man, Abe the Killer, kind of ironically, he's actually somebody that's followed my Instagram for years. He's actually followed me, and I've chatted it up with him years ago. And I never even brought up the fact that there was no talk of obviously doing an interview. I wasn't even doing this, but it's funny because we've chatted about like fights and whatnot. We were we were talking about him potentially making it to the UFC and all that, and I asked him to come on the show, and I think he's one of the guys that turned me down, which is kind of funny, right? And the funny, someone that actually follows my page. But it's no disdain coming from me. He's probably focusing on what he needs to do right now to prepare for his fight night. But these dudes that are coming on, hanging out with us, it's very enjoyable. So I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. And you guys, any recommendations for the show? I'm looking to shake things up. I want to try to get, as I build these connections with these fighters getting signed by the UFC, and I want to start reaching out to some of these UFC fighters for interviews and whatnot too. But the fight companions, that's something that I'm really looking to do. The Dana White's Contender Series fight companions, and eventually for some of these UFC events, I'm going to do fight companions, and I want to get some UFC fighters, to pop in real quick and hang out with us. That's something that I'm really working on. So I think you guys will like that. And last question, then we're going to end the show. We got Teller, who is the parlay buster this week, and I'll give you a parlay buster. Buster, you want a parlay buster? All right, let's get it. All right, a potential parlay buster. In my opinion, I'm looking at a couple here. I'll tell you what stands out to me more so. Ludovic Klein is definitely a potential parlay buster. I'll throw that out to you real quick. He's a minus 230, 240. He's a dangerous, talented fighter. Do not completely overlook Tofik Musayev, who just bounced back with a big victory in his second bout in the UFC. He's proven to be well-rounded at this point in time. He's still dangerous on the feet as well. And we've seen Klein struggle with wrestling at times. So be careful there. That's a potential parlay buster. And then the other potential parlay buster for me is going to be Navajo Sterling, who is as high as a minus 320. I like Sterling a lot. I think he probably gets the job done there, but that is a potential buster. Jan Blachowicz is not a fighter to overlook. Okay. You're talking about a former champ, a fighter that is still proving to be dangerous, even where he's at, or well-rounded and complete and dangerous overall as a fighter, even where he's at right now with his age. And Sterling is just not as proven. Sterling has the path to victory, though. Minute to minute with his striking, he should be able to control this fight. But Bukovic can amp the pace up to this fight, and he'll be very live if he does that. He has to amp the pace up. He has to look to change levels. He has to. He can't just go into cruise control like he has as of recently, and like he did in what was the one that stands out to me? There was a fight as of recently. I really didn't like the way that he fought it. I'll just mention it real quick, and then I'll let you guys go. But the fight that he had as of recently where he fell short, which was a very competitive fight against Guskov, right? The Guskov fight. That wasn't a good look in retrospect now. He got hurt by Guskov. I didn't like the fact that he was not changing levels in that fight. Carlos Ulberg fight, he arguably won that fight. Just to kind of make you understand what I'm talking about when you're talking about a parlay buster. He was in there with Ulberg, who is arguably a better version of Sterling, very similar. So he knows stylistically what he has in front of him here. All right. So you think about that as well. But that is a couple of parlay busters. All right, guys, I'll leave you with that. Hope you guys all have a great end to your week. It's Wednesday. We're cruising into the weekend, depending on when you're catching this, Thursday, Friday. Hope you guys all enjoy UFC Belgrade. And I hope you guys are all doing well out there. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Signing out. Teller.
The Teller.